I'm Mary.
And I'm Carla.
And we're the Smiley Twins.
That was pretty weak. Huh? That was pretty weak.
Okay, well, we're back for another episode of Not Just Lip Service. We are going to do a business one today. So, super medical aesthetics focus. I mean, some of it can be applied, I think, to any business for sure, but definitely, especially the beginning stuff. And then we'll go into a little bit more mobile versus opening a brick and mortar. And I mean, talk about how Smiley helps with some of that stuff for sure.
I think we start with kind of a recap of our model from the independent med spa situation. So
well, hold on. And then I was going to say that some of the topics today were coming from
directly from
our independent med spa owners and medical providers. And Carla is going to go into each topic kind of more specifically on our Patreon, which I plug our Patreon every time. But if we breeze through something a little bit more, obviously this will be a little more generalized, and then you can head over to the Patreon, which is just patreon.com/smileyesthetics, and for a little bit more details. There's already some stuff up there. There's a lot of stuff up there, actually, a lot. But some of these will be covered in more detail there individually, so you can dive in. So what were you saying we should start with?
Oh, just our model. So how we work when it comes to Smiley. So we have our traditional brick and mortars, which is great. We're about to open another one in Q2. We're excited about it in the Nashville area.
When you say traditional brick and mortar, you mean?
Yeah, like we open
a med spa.
Brick and mortar med spa.
Well, not everyone knows what brick and mortar means.
Oh, a physical building. Rent a physical space or buy a physical space. We have our independent med spas, and what we do is provide basically a turnkey solution for them to start, own, and operate their own businesses. Because if you don't know medical aesthetics, it's medicine, first and foremost. So between the physicians and the laws and the compliance and, setting up accounts and medical directors and just everything, it's just a lot to take on as an individual person. And nurses and medical providers are just not well-versed in those processes because we grow up in school and then go into a hospital setting. In the hospital, we never appreciate how much is going on in the background for us in a hospital to make sure we are credentialed and we have the supplies and we have the physicians and we have the credits and the hours and everything we need. So we provide all that in the medical aesthetic space. So,
and then people that join us on that side, or people who are under our umbrella, if you will, some of them are mobile, some of them open their own brick and mortar, some of them rent one room and just are single provider med spas. And so we kind of
support all of it.
Do it all.
Yeah. And you can do that because, obviously you can't do surgery in your car, but in medical aesthetics, you can do a lot of these very safely, very effectively.
Not in your car necessarily.
No, I just meant like mobile. You can do it in someone's home and things like that are safe, kind of like a home health situation. So, these are a bunch of the direct questions from our independent med spas providers. So we're going to kind of dive into some of those. One of the things that I get asked a lot is about funding options. I think when people start a business, either investor is such a sexy word and everyone thinks that, oh, that's what you do. You go looking for money, or how do I get money? And that is a good question. Mary and I did not take money or get money from anyone to start our business.
Think about it.
Yeah, it never even crossed my mind. And I think for nurses and medical providers, that's the most common thing. I don't think, again, just it's not about being ignorant or dumb. It's just about not having knowledge in a certain space.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, and so in the business world, if you're in it and you know it, then that is one of the first things that comes up is how am I going to...
This coffee is not good.
I thought it was sour yesterday too.
Does coffee go bad like that in pods?
I don't think so, because that one's not that old. It's Stark Roast, I think. Anyways, do you get an investor or how do you get money? There's a lot of ways to go about getting money, and what it depends on almost solely is what do you want the money for? Are you looking to buy something? Are you looking to use it for working capital? Are you looking to use it for a very specific growth plan? Are you looking to spend money on marketing? Are you technology? Like, what is it that you're trying to do? That's the first question.
Which you need to know, and it's not just I'm going to spend it on marketing. It has to be so much more, no matter which route you go, even friends and
even
family.
Working capital. It's got to, that's the one area you can get a little bit less detailed with probably, but it's the least, it's the least likely to get you money.
Yeah, and you need a detailed plan. It's not, so this is where Carla knew this and I didn't or whatever, but it was like, oh, yeah, marketing. And then we were like, well, that's not a good enough thing. What about marketing? It's like, maybe some ads. Well, okay, what about the ads? What are, like, details? Who are you targeting? Which platform?
What service? What's the return on that service, on that ad?
What's your pay-per-click amount going to be?
Yeah.
What's your cost per acquisition? I mean, like, these things that I'm like.
If you spend $1,000 on a facial ad and your return on that is $100 a facial, that's maybe not where an investor wants to see their money spent. Maybe they want you to spend your money on something that's going to garner you $800 a treatment. Like, there's just a variety of, and the overarching theme in general with an investor or that type of situation garnering money, 99.9% of the time, unless it's a loan, and the loan is the one that's on the side, is that people want a return on their money. So unless they're giving you, even if they're giving you equity, they want that equity to be valuable down the road. So and they want to know, a lot of times people are like, well, I don't plan on selling. Well, then equity is maybe not a good way to go. I mean, you can do that for distributions and stuff like that, but depending on what your plan is, there's just a million ways to skin it. Loans are the safest bets, in my opinion, for a lot of people who are starting medical aesthetics businesses, because you can control the payback, and okay, I've got this $50,000 loan with a 7% or whatever prime interest rate. The payment is going to be this. I'm going to pay it back over 5 years. I know, as the provider, I owe $1,100 a month. That is easy, safe. If you know what you're doing.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. That's a lot. And I guess we could go further, but that's like a lot of money for a new business starting out.
Well, I'm just giving you an example.
No, I know, but then it could
be a $5,000 loan that they're paying back over 2 years.
No, I understand. Yeah. I'm just saying, yeah.
The point is a set payment. When you start getting into investors and bigger money, the expectations, the voice, the noise of their money, all that, and what I mean by that is, oh, I've gave you $50,000 for, and I want to see this, and you should be doing it this way, you should be doing it that way. Loans kind of can help cut all that out.
Sure. Well, and I think there's a misconception of, like, with all due respect, when you're new and stuff, unless you have unless you're in the tech space, people aren't really trying to fund your brand new whatever business. Even though medical aesthetics is on the higher end of lucrative and profit margins and stuff, people aren't trying to fund that stuff until down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can go like you.
Friends or family, maybe.
I was going to say it just depends on who the investor is. So you look at these funding tranches and you say, okay, friends and family, my personal piggy bank first. My personal piggy bank. I'm not a fan of credit cards. It's listed in some people's tranche levels and some people's it's not. It would not be in mine. I would not put credit cards on there. I think that it's smart to use a credit card like in a 4-week setting to loan yourself money, but something that you pay back.
I have trouble focusing. Where'd you get that watch band?
We can talk about it later. And yeah, so credit cards is never, they're 26%. That's never a good option unless it's a very short-term thing or you're just borrowing money from yourself literally for 2 weeks or a week. I mean, that's fine. It's the best way to go.
Within the statement balance plan.
Pretty much, yeah. The best way to go is a credit card that you're borrowing from yourself in a 4-week term. Wonderful. And then secondarily, of course, savings and things like that. We always get into the whole, oh, I'm ready to go. I'm starting. I'm all in. I've got $12 in my bank account. Okay, let's talk about that. But as far as how you get money, so SBA loans, those are, you can get working capital SBA loans, and it's difficult in the sense that you've got to have some stuff. Like you've got to have your books together, your P&L, your that kind of stuff. You can go to the bank and get a personal loan for your business. It's a personal loan, so it's on. They're going to take your house if you don't pay. But it's for your business, so you don't have to. You need your business EIN and stuff like that, and it's going to be against the business. But you're going to personally guarantee it. So if you haven't sat down, like it's an old school thing. Sit down with your banker. They literally, the person at the branch at the regions you go to, they're there to literally help you. Hey, how can I do this? Navigate that. How can with small business loan, et cetera, et cetera.
Or I'll just give you your best options based on the information you provide. We're not accountants, we're not CPAs, or any of that, but
this is not legal tax advice.
This is not financial advice.
Yeah, but banks vary too. So it's important to know that if you do business with regions, they're very, very conservative, openly conservative banking.
Versus a credit union that might be a little more loose.
Or like a local bank or whatever, a credit union that are more apt to take risk and less risk averse. So if you get told no by your current bank, don't don't just be like, all right, well, that's it. There's no more money from the banks. Go to another bank. They're not one and the same. So it can be very different. So there's a lot of different ways to get funding. My first question to anyone, and I would argue that I would find few of our personal independent spas that actually have an appropriate business plan for what and how they're going to spend the money. And for anyone listening, if you do have that, I would send it, and I will very politely rip it to shreds if necessary to help you, have a better presentation to get what you need. But again, there's plenty of people who can help with that.
Well, and you can also get like some templates essentially to make a business plan.
Yeah.
Pretty, because there is also this level of like putting it into a deck or a PowerPoint or whatever and making it look aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like
and professional. And people do that, off Fiverr.
Yeah. When I sent our first stuff to Regions, to our banker, it was a nice pitch deck, and it had an executive summary, and just gave a little history about us, etc.
Yeah, there's very specific things you want in those decks.
Yeah.
That sound big fancy words and sound complicated, but they're really
reality,
not.
It's 2 or 3 sentences on each.
Yeah, and you can find easy help to do those pretty
absolutely.
simply.
So there's a variety of options for funding. But one of the things me and Mary always harp on is, as soon as you don't think that friends or family,
I was literally about to say that.
Yeah, I don't have any friends or family. It's shocking how much you do have friends and family. What the problem is you're not willing to ask.
You don't want to ask, yeah.
That is, I've yet to find a successful person that really exhausted that. It's always
I think of our.
Oh no, I don't know.
I'm not even sure that we have now. If we ever needed money again, then I don't know that we have. But however,
no, we haven't exhausted it by any.
Yeah, exactly. When we were judging on the TV show the week before last, we had several providers in the funding kind of conversation. I mean, several entrepreneurs in the funding conversation who were like, "Oh, I would never. No, my pride. There's no way. I would never give." And it was like this. It was almost like this proud. That's why you can't. For those of you who can't see what I'm doing, it's like this flipping hair. I will never give away equity or take money
on social media.
And I was like, "Oh, really? Why? Oh, my pride. Pride." And it's just like I just will never do that. And it's like
wouldn't ask them
you have
for that.
no.
It's like, why?
That's the most ignorant lack of fundamental understanding of equity, of business, of fundraising, of so many things, to go ahead and say that at most of those people are early in your business, and just a super lack of understanding of so much. So
it's also just this societal faux pas that someone else's money can only be spent within their immediate circle, and it's like, no, there are people out there. So when you think about you and your husband and your kids, you want to spend money almost solely on those 3 people, and you work for it. That's a norm. But there's plenty of people who are like, man, I care about. Yeah, I'd love to see you succeed. That's amazing. Yeah. And you know what? I trust that if things go well for me, I'll pay you back, or maybe I don't pay you back, but you want to help me, so I'll give you $5,000 because I really would love to see you succeed.
Yeah, and I have that money to give, and you don't have to pay me back.
Yeah, and you don't have to pay me back.
I don't expect it back.
Yeah, I don't expect it back at all. But one day, if you make it and you do well, that'd be great. You buy me dinner for the next 10. I mean, it can be transactional, or it can just be the fact that someone's like, yeah, I don't have to have this $5,000 right now, and it could change your life. Yeah, there are a lot of people out there like that, and we just don't want to ask. And it's not something that we offer up. And maybe it's a two-way street a little bit. Maybe the world should offer up a little bit. But as we all know, you do that, and then all of a sudden it's like ants to food or sugar.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to do that. It's hard to be vulnerable on the other end. So it's up to the entrepreneur to ask. Yeah. So friends and family, again, and what would $500 or $1,000 from somebody do for you? In the medical aesthetics world, buy you a box of filler. Well, that's too, that could double, then you could double that profit.
Or it could make worse, I'm getting to worst case scenarios, it could make that minimum credit card payment for the next 4 months when you made an initial purchase on if that was the route you took.
It could be $500 in ads for the next 3 months, or $330 for 3 months in ads, which would garner you 18 new clients. Well, my gosh.
Yeah,
that ROI was fantastic.
That is the other thing with fundraising.
Stop thinking in the tens of thousands.
Right, I was about to say that. It's like this big amount, this big number or whatever. Like, what would be the best, the most? So #mom life. 4-year-old is here prior to school. Yes, you can, honey. So he might be in the background
a lot.
So.
So that's kind of some options for funding.
Well, that's one option that we love. We like starting with.
SBA, you can go to your bank.
There's always grants you can apply for, but being mindful of time, grants can be, grants can take
here's
some time.
My suggestion on grants. Write up
something you can submit multiple
Write
times.
up your story. Again, dedicate an hour or two. Write up on a Word document your story, maybe a couple ways. And by a couple ways, I mean maybe one. You can wipe your own bottom, sweetheart. You do it all day at school. You got it. Write up your story a different way. Like if you're a women-owned business, like write it more from a women-owned focus. Write it more from a startup and family, maybe.
Yeah, or save a draft where you've made those, like it's targeted towards women-owned business.
That's what I'm saying. Just write it 2-3 times and save that.
No, I'm just saying save a draft, and you can even highlight the areas that you just made. You can make it very simple on yourself.
And then fill out your EIN. Put your EIN, your business name, your address, like literally just grant application document, and then you just
plug and play.
Something
else that people I don't think don't look at or even think about is there are a ton of little pitch competitions happening all the time in most cities. You good?
Did you wash your hands? Get back in there, little boy.
He
just slid down.
He slid down and landed on the floor.
Miles.
Okay, so there are a ton of little pitch competitions that can be for $500 to $5,000, $10,000, where it's like little Shark Tank things, or just at local college. A lot of times, a local college, community college. Carla, just
I don't want to touch it all. He just pooped, and he's all over my desk.
Well, he didn't rub his hands in it.
Don't wash your hands, or get some sanitizer or something. You don't know what he rubbed his hands in,
honey.
So there's all kinds of options there. So again, that's grants. We went over credit cards, friends and family.
Hey, can you go hand me that bottle with green stuff in it right there? See it? Behind the white bottle? Will you go get that for me?
Grants, credit cards, friends and family.
The green. That was an error.
The SBA is, through a bank. You have to go through the bank for that. So there's different options for that.
Here, I'll put this.
Another thing people have asked is, for a tutorial on making paid ads.
You have to watch your phone for a little. Watch the show for. I know you do, honey, but we're gonna watch the show for a little bit longer while mommy finishes doing this. And then we're gonna go to school after that. Why don't you mute your face?
Okay,
we're almost done, honey.
So another thing they've asked for is about paid ads, and it's really important to understand those. But I get a little frustrated on this because people want quote unquote tutorials on it and stuff like that, and I get that. However, my tutorial is not going to be as good as Meta's. It is out there for
YouTube.
Free. When you make a business page and when you start spending money on ads, you get a free Meta Pro who will literally get on the phone with you and help you with some of this stuff. So I feel like I've said that till I'm blue in the face a little bit. You can find all of this information, and it's going to be better than the information that I give you. And I do understand that the internet is overwhelming, especially if you're like taxes for small businesses. I'm not talking about that. But this is pretty specific.
Well, I'm gonna fight you on that. It's not that specific.
It could be hard.
YouTube. Go Google it. Go to YouTube.
I'm talking about this is specific. A paid ad on Facebook.
YouTube
is something that you can absolutely find the resources in tidbits, and Meta itself free will help you do that. And it's just and I understand people want condensed and stuff like that, but that's cutting a corner a little bit. It's like,
get over it.
My goodness, business.facebook.com, your business page. When you're logged into your account, you have your business page, and bam, you've got leads that connect to your Messenger, connect to your Instagram. You've got ads. You've got Ads Manager. You've just got all these things, and it's all free and right at your fingertips. But if you don't have the time to dedicate, again, it's more than 5 minutes. I have now lengthened out everything in my life. 4 hours. 4 hours that you sit down and you're like, I am going to do nothing but focus on Facebook and Meta for 4 hours, or 2-hour blocks, whatever it is. This whole idea that I can get it done in 5 minutes is what the internet has ruined us with. It's like,
Oh yeah, I want a YouTube video that shows me how to do something in under 5 minutes.
yeah. And
However, I'm going to put the plug in again because she's getting very specific on ads and stuff. But back up and generalize that. It truly, I'm not talking about Google. I'm talking about YouTube specifically. You can literally find multiple tutorial videos of varying lengths from hours down to minutes on how to do anything.
Right.
How to screw in a screw. How to unplug. You could Google, how do I plug in a 3-prong plug? And there is a video showing you how to do that. I mean, it is literally, there is a video for everything, including everything, anything you can think of for your business. So when you look up, how do I do a Meta Facebook ad, and you put that into YouTube, specifically, sure, Google, because YouTube will come up first most likely. There are multiple videos on how to do that. To her point, sure, on that particular one, a Meta Pro being assigned to you is probably the best way to do it, but the amount of videos that show you how to optimize an ad or do it well on YouTube that are completely free is, I think you and I are both getting to the point of like the excuses just get very annoying. Like at some point, it's like
well, it's
there
a little,
are no
it's a little burnout.
burnout. There's no excuses for when you're starting out
burnout.
for some of this stuff.
I think it's not burnout. That's the wrong word. It's more just could we help? We're just in a repetition of helping people go through the same process over and over and over again. So.
It's not even that. I love that actually. That's what I like doing. It's the repeating like the.
Well, you hear the same thing from the new people over and over again.
Right. Well,
that's what I mean.
Well, no, it's not even that. It's the ones that have been going for a while that then you still.
Yeah.
No,
it's
actually like
frustrating.
the ones that you've already told it to 3 times, and I don't mind the first 3 times honestly because everyone's a new entrepreneur, and I don't mind repeating it in the beginning. It's the ones that come back, and not our providers necessarily, just in general.
I love it, and I will say like. I think I'm a good teacher. I think I can put things in a way that make people understand. And so I understand people wanting tutorials and stuff like that. Maybe it's specifically from a certain person, but it is frustrating to know that content is already out there in such a way that I couldn't do it any better.
And so that's like common sense now. Like, so let's back all the way up to like, bing, I have an idea. I've never done anything entrepreneurship. I'm not entrepreneurial at all, actually. Like I
have a product.
I have a product, yeah. I have an idea, and it's gonna work. And it's this like, okay, now everyone hand me the step. I want to be handed the steps to make this get off the ground. That, which is, we're not gonna get any kind of play with, totally in line with kind of how society has moved to today. This hand-holding, entitlement, quite frankly, of like, oh, I want to be handed it versus I want to go find it. If that attitude and the successful entrepreneurs that we know in our lives, the hundreds now, that attitude of I'm going to go find it myself and do it myself versus the ones that fail, literally nearly 100% that fail because they never switch over into the, you know what, I do just need to go do this myself.
Yeah.
But most people, a lot of people, at least over half that we meet and talk to, and once again, in and outside of Smiley, the blocks, no matter where we're at, walk into it like their questions. Okay, they look at you and okay, well, how do I do that? Well, how do I? And it's
how did y'all do what you did in the last 2 years? I'm like that's a big question.
And you're dead serious. You're asking me that.
You
and
want me to answer that right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the how
and the fact that you think I can answer it in even a day or a week.
Oh, here's my new thing. If you're basically, really, it's any question. But hey, Miles, honey, can you go back in there and sit down, baby? We're almost done.
Get back in your cell.
Okay, in your cage. Close the door to your cage. If your question starts with how, really, it's not even why, it's not what, it's not, or I could go ahead and say where. Where do I find, or how do I do? If your question starts with that, and you have not, at the very least, Google or YouTube it, I got to be honest, I don't want you to ask. I would prefer you to never ask me that.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's not being a bitch. It's not being mean.
No, I
say that in a very
true.
polite way. Because I think if we, as mentors and coaches or whatever, or helping somebody, if
you're doing a disservice.
You're doing, we've talked about this. That the hand-holding that we do at Smiling and stuff, we love. It's more than just mentoring. It's more than coaching. It's much more than that.
Trying to get everybody off the ground successfully.
Yeah, it's much more than that. So, but there we talked multiple times about, is there a level of, there's always going to be a level of crippling, because doing it all yourself from scratch is always going to be less of a cripple, that's quote unquote cripple, than than somebody really helping you through it.
Yes, but it's such an overwhelming amount of those that do it all by themselves, fail. That's the whole
Right,
point.
right. So we're
Trying to
trying
get
to find
everybody
this
over
line.
that initial hump.
Yeah.
But there is a point of like, okay, you're over the hump. You know what you're doing day to day. You know how to make money day to day.
Or we just give you the basics,
Yeah.
a little bit more than basic beginnings. And then at that point, if you don't kind of take initiative, that's another really good word.
Yeah.
If you don't take, if there's zero initiative. So if you ask me how to do a Facebook ad, what that tells me is that you have no initiative.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that may be mean, but I mean, and this is not new to me. That's a thought.
I think there's value in if someone says, how do I do a Facebook ad? It's like, oh, well, listen, I don't mind telling somebody like business.facebook.com, it'll take you to
It's
Meta.
not that I mind telling them.
No, I'm just saying, like, and then on there, there's all these free resources. It walks you through it. It's very, very simple or pretty easy. No, that's easy for me. Doesn't mean it's easy for everyone.
Okay, well, last little plug on this, and then I'll shut up. It's kind of like asking someone, oh, where did you get, and not so much clothes, because those can be very hard to,
tag,
yeah,
brand.
where did you get your Apple Watch? Are you kidding me? Like,
Do people actually ask that?
well, okay, where did you get this anatomical head?
Yeah.
Did you Google anatomical head? I mean, it's just kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, I get your point.
Yeah, it's a point.
It is frustrating.
That's a little extreme.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just kind of like, did you do anything to help yourself?
Here's a good one. How did you get that? Like, how did you get the marketing stuff for Juvederm?
Yeah, where do you get? Oh, that gets asked a lot. Where do you get marketing material for Botox and filler?
Did you even try?
Yeah,
did you think at all? Where would we get marketing stuff
from
Botox
Allergan?
From Allergan.
Probably from Allergan.
Yeah.
Well, how do you do?
Okay, and we're not. And again, we're probably have injectors listening, thinking we're a bunch of jerks.
No, it's more.
It's not that.
Those
It's just
are
that
very.
We
extreme.
could help people do much deeper stuff and bigger stuff. I think if we weren't so busy, oftentimes answering those questions, and we're trying
It's
to
just a lack of initiative and
trying to move our independent med spas and injectors away from those types of questions and that type of thought process.
Any entrepreneur,
into more of a not necessarily a go-getter, because I do think you got to have that spark. And so if you don't have it and you don't have a go-getter, you don't have a willingness and a desire and a burning passion to learn and figure it out yourself. Those are the 70% that fail. I mean, it's not a given for anybody. Can you create that in yourself? Absolutely, if you want it bad enough.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to push those that want it or are right there into,
Yeah,
making
I
sure they
think
do
the
it.
point's been made.
Yeah.
It's not like if you ask me a
Okay.
question, I'm gonna be like, did you look it up? It's just.
Okay, so and then another question was, what are the essentials to have once you open a brick and mortar? This one's very simple for me. Me and Mary have stood on this same principle this whole time. Keep it simple, stupid. You don't need a whole lot of anything to open a brick and mortar. That's different from when you were mobile.
And this applies to every. Well, this medical aesthetics. This also kind of applies to every.
Almost anything.
any
Whatever you
business,
were
yeah.
selling, you need whatever you were selling, but you need it the exact same way as when you were selling it before.
Right. You don't. If you're fixing a problem, even a coffee shop. I just want to be sure we don't just. Well, this is a medical aesthetics show, but even a coffee shop, people are going to buy the coffee, assuming it's good. Let's not talk about the quality of the product. Are going to buy whatever you're selling if it's a reasonable fix of a problem. Well, we're not talking about the special things where you're starting something new, all that stuff. If you have a coffee shop, you need every bell and whistle known to man that is out there to start a coffee shop or a med spa for that reason.
Yeah.
So relating it back to a med spa, you need your product, a chair, and your supplies.
Yeah, like you need
Maybe a ring light.
or a plant.
No,
a
you
green
don't even
plant.
need
Yeah,
that.
yeah, but I mean, it's so simple with what
You
you
need four
need.
walls and a ceiling.
Yeah,
and
maybe you could, and people are like, well, with the walls, okay, there's marketing material from Allergan, it's free. Like you can do it so simply and get it started, and the transition can be so seamless. It's very
you can
simple.
print things off from Etsy and get a frame for $3 off Amazon.
Yeah,
and it looks like
again,
you
you
might
gotta
have.
have that attitude to go get
Yeah,
it. As
and
far
you have
as
to be okay with that.
Yeah, and as far as inventory, when you're in a brick and mortar, you're even more in control. Inventory is harder to manage in the mobile setting when you got people willy-nilly and you got this flexibility thing. When you have your schedule X, Y, and Z open, you can see out 3 or 4 days. You know your product comes overnight or whatever the case is. It's a lot easier. Now, if you're going to start marketing, inventory should be based on how much you're really marketing and how quickly you're getting clients, and not necessarily, I've got 10 the rest of the week, but more so, I've also got 3 ads out there that have few dollars going into each of them a day, and I get people reaching out 3 or 4 times a day. So I could have somebody walk in. My address is out there now on Google Business. Like someone could walk in. So as you start building up those sides of your business, that's when inventory needs to be there and prepared.
Yeah, and those are kind of called par. Those are called like par levels for each product. So you just want to, and when you're starting out, for
us, when we're starting out in our brick and mortars, we had par levels as low as 5. I think me and you.
Oh, 3.
I remember
it was 3. It was 3 vials of Botox.
Because there's no shipping charge.
Yeah,
and we hated it.
3 vials of Botox, and we even, honey.
Miles, honey, we're almost done.
Okay, I will look for it in just
Is
1
it in
minute.
the bathroom? Check the bathroom. And so, and then we would put them at 5, and then we put them at 10. And I mean, that's just keeping a minimum. And then no matter what, on Monday, or, if we had, let's work off of 6. If we had, 2 bottles, we ordered 4. If we had 5 bottles, I honestly still ordered 3, or look at your schedule for the week and leave it at 5. But we don't want to pay shipping, so I might order.
That's where 3 came from, which is reasonable.
Yeah, and then the next week, if the 8 was 7, I don't order. Next week, if the 8 is 6, I don't order. The next week, the 8 is 5, I order 3 more. I mean, it's very. Or if you're going off 1 bottle a week for 3 weeks, maybe your par shouldn't be 6. So it
should be 3.
It's managing that, and it doesn't have to be perfect by any stretch. But the good news about Botox, by example, or even filler, is they come in such small quantities. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to buy, T-shirts. You got to buy a minimum order of 100. Yeah, that sucks. You got the inventory is sitting there. We don't have to have inventory sit in our world, and that's really positive. We don't have to order ketchup in bulks of 1,000 to get our price point lower. You don't do that at all. So the only thing you're talking about is a $25 shipping charge if you only order 1 bottle or 2 at a time, or whatever the case is. Mm-hmm. Now filler, I would argue, absolutely absorb that $25 to have 1 box if you're just getting started out, or 2, or whatever the case is. You don't have to order 3 at a time, because it is a little bit more expensive, and depending on how fast you're going through it. But if you're opening a brick and mortar, you got to have something sitting on the shelf. You got to be prepared for that walk-in.
Yeah, but once again, it can just be very,
It could just be tightly controlled.
It can just be really tight. Yeah, and I think setting
controlled.
par levels starting out, and then always maintaining your par levels as they, and then you need a good year's worth of, really, anyway.
Yeah.
You just kind of go off of weeks, and then you can probably go off of months, and then seasons, because the seasons of an aesthetic practice, for example, or any business.
Well, and then furthermore, the other part of that question was stuff on the shelf, and we are not a big on the stuff on the shelf. 2 things on the shelf. 1, it can walk away, so you always have to be aware of that. If you're going to be the only injector in your space and you've got a shelf full of Skin Medica next to the door, well,
probably should put those in, make them empty boxes.
Empty boxes. And then conversely, we don't find, if people are going to order stuff and we have the empty box, let's say we don't have one in stock, I'll get that to your house. I'll order that today. It should be here in a couple days. Like, that is not a huge, takeaway from people. So we stock, I think.
You mean like they don't care?
They don't care.
Yeah.
I think our par levels are maybe 2, and when we sell the 1, we order another one.
Well, we have to order in 6, so it just kind of depends.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but however, to your point, that is super specific, I feel like, to areas. So when I talked about for medical, aesthetic, different med spas, some people sell even in our own med spas, a med spa in a different state, that she's in another state, she sells a ton of skincare products. A med spa that is in a different city in Tennessee, in Knoxville, she sells a bunch of stuff off the shelf. We just don't at one of our med spas in Nashville. It's just like one of them in Nashville. And that's funny. One in Nashville does, and another one in Nashville does not.
Yeah.
But so it just depends. You'll get a feel for that pretty quickly. But most of these. A lot of products like that have an online kind of store where you make the same money off of it.
And
so just being mindful of that.
And they have very, very, you got to put money into it if you want to order. I just don't think you need to have every single thing on the shelf. Find your favorites, we keep.
Oh yeah, because then they can order that stuff offline for all of these skincare. So skincare specifically. Yeah. If
they're like, oh man, I was really wanting this other retinol, or I was wanting.
Or it's a 0.25 retinol, and I wanted the 0.5.
Yeah,
great.
And I heard 0.5. Great. I'll
order
get
that
to your house in 2 days. That'll be right there. Having those boxes or having that stuff on the shelf or whatever the case is. Now you can the stuff you like we love TNS, and we sell, by example, on Skin Medica a good bit of it. So yeah, ordering 6 is painful on the front end for sure. But they also have very long expiration dates.
Yeah, another little plug: ask your rep for empty boxes if you don't want to invest in your rep.
Buy it for yourself and keep your empty box, obviously.
Well, and then you're asking a rep or a med spa across town, or you see someone in a medical aesthetics group that sells Skin Medica. Ask them if they'll ship you You'll pay for the shipping, which will be all of 10 cents because it's empty boxes. And
go into a medical aesthetics group and say, does anybody have any empty boxes?
I don't want to invest in buying all this, and I was trying to.
So it depends on how frugal you want to be. You can empty box your shelves, or yes, you can get the one minimum of your favorite products that you can confidently speak about and sell if you're good at it. And yeah, you put 6 on the shelf. That is part of it. I mean, having inventory is part of it.
Yeah, we save our filler boxes for our new med spa owners and save our Botox boxes, and we save a lot of empty boxes literally for this reason that we're talking about, so they can have them for marketing.
And then one other question about the brick and mortar is someone said, or one other question was asked was how much money to spend on product. I don't understand the question. I don't understand the question in relation to medical aesthetics.
I think if they're trying to ask like how much product, basically the same thing you answered earlier. How much?
When you're starting out, the answer is you should control your inventory as tightly as you possibly can because you have the ability to do so.
Well, and then this is
not like you're launching this water bottle and you may or may not have 1,000 orders. And you've got to have these suckers ahead of time because you have to meet the demand for the orders. I think it's a Shark Tank of the world. This is not what we're talking about.
Right.
It's a service-based industry, and you can control the inventory.
Yeah, and I think starting out, if it's important to keep your inventory so tight that, let's say you do get 2 unexpected clients quickly that ask if they can come in tomorrow. Most people are not, and you don't have the product to do it. That is almost preferred over certainly letting anything expire, which there are long expiry, or sinking yourself, having something sit a month longer than you wanted to unopened.
Well, if we're going off the credit card idea, you should honestly, 3 weeks, you should never be holding.
4, because statements
well,
are
I'm just
6,
saying, it's safe is 3 weeks. Try not to have inventory that you would hold longer than 3 weeks.
Right, and then and if a client, you have 2, that's great, 2 new clients, but you're like, and they want to come tomorrow, and so you need to order an overnight. You don't think it's going to get here, whatever. It is very reasonable to say, hey, I don't have any open appointment. I'm booked up tomorrow. Can I move you to another day? Most people in the medical aesthetics world in particular are willing to wait 2 weeks to get their treatment.
Yeah.
That's like the average. That's an average too. A lot are willing to wait 3 to 4 weeks, and then some are a little.
Yeah.
But an average is 2 weeks. And so if you need to push them out a day, 2 days, you're going to capture almost every single one of them.
I can't take you tomorrow. I'm full, but I'll come to you as soon as I get off. What works for you? Because you'll get that shipment. I mean, there's a million ways you can skin it.
But use the verbiage, and this is something we haven't mentioned in a while. It is important. Don't say like, don't be that honest about like,
I don't have the product.
But saying, I don't have any availability tomorw. I'm all booked up. I would love to see you the day after.
Yeah, I don't have any availability tomorrow. Completely true. I don't.
Makes you seem full. Yeah.
That's a good point. But having a bottle of Botox, for example, on hand for that one walk-in is when you're new. You should have one on hand. That is extra.
Yeah, I'm pretty.
That's
a par level of 3 for Botox and one full box of filler. I think. Like if you're only doing lips. Now, if you're offering all areas of the face, kind of having one of the ones that you use the most. So if we're talking about Juvederm, having one Voluma, one Volux at minimum, because as you know, people who are listening, a lot of times people need 3 and 4 syringes. So maybe even that's a par level 2 if you're doing full face and starting out. But a box of always kind of on hand for that unexpected.
And I want to make sure one more time. Par level means whatever you expect to use in the week. So and then one extra. So 3, if you're a brick and mortar who's 5 days a week and you're coming in there 5 days a week, 3 is probably not enough.
Sure.
So you've got to look at that based on what you're doing each week, and that's just a way to budget so that on Mondays I'm going to spend a minimum of $2,000 or $3,000 or whatever it is if you're buying 5 or whatever the case is. So that's what par levels are. It's not I'm going to get 3 on Monday and by Thursday I'm going to be ordering again. The goal is to only order on Mondays, just from a budgeting perspective.
Did you cancel huddle?
No.
Okay, maybe we need to wrap it up.
Okay.
The point of this thing, hopefully there's so much to talk about in business, and Carla has been doing a great job of putting more content on Patreon, and this just goes to show, like, we covered 3 kind of questions or topics, and there's just so much to
talk about each of them.
And what she's going to start doing, I think, or what she started doing and is going to continue to do, is just getting this specific on topics. Because even 4, 5, 7, 8 minutes, these little digestible videos where it's a deep dive into the one specific question or topic, and not even a topic, like a topic within a topic, almost within a topic, is what we're gonna start putting out on. She's been, like I said, been doing this for the past 2 weeks, but start putting out on Patreon to help you guys.
I've been doing some mindset stuff on Patreon and that's the fluffy stuff that people, sometimes don't find value in. Yeah, well, hear me now. You need to find value in it because it's what Mary was just talking about. Mindset is half the battle. If you don't have the mindset of I'm going to go get it, it's all mindset. It's all mindset.
Oh, it's all and I use the word attitude. It is all about your attitude.
So maybe it's not that I've messed up, but yes, I'm going to put practical stuff out there, but it's almost like, all right, let me take a step back and foundationally look at, let's set some mindset rules.
Yeah.
Like having a growth mindset, having that just go get it mindset, having a I can. That's people like, oh yeah, I have that. It's like, oh, do you though?
Yeah, do you? Yeah.
But every time a question comes up, if you go seek another person to give you the answer,
that's the type of mindset you're talking about. Yeah.
So
and we said, this is true. I think I've thought a lot about this since the week before last that someone had said. Which we say this all the time, but I really thought about it, about if you wake up and dread your business, like what you need to do for your business that day, I can honestly say I have not experienced that in the, 18 months to 2 years of Smiley Aesthetic. Like I've not woken up. I've woken up and literally, I can almost say maybe I could count on one hand neutral days, but that was probably because I was sick or whatever, or dealing with personal stuff. Other than that, I literally wake up like looking forward to going to work.
I do agree with that. In my last job, there were certain parts that I just absolutely loved.
I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I don't have that.
Yeah, I was like, the last thing I want to do is this.
It's amazing. Oh, it's amazing. Even tiny little
and there's very little things that I won't do.
Yeah, and then I might be like, oh, I gotta go answer. I'm gonna go respond to these Google reviews. But even that, I just don't even. Do I love that? No, that'll get me down to neutral. I'm not in love with it, but it's just a mindset of if it's helping business or helping Smiley or whatever, something in my mind flicks over up into the positive, and I just don't mind it. So if you were listening to this and you don't really have that, medical aesthetics or not with your business, or you're dreading, or you're quote unquote burn out and you're a year into growing your business, that's the thought of you may not be doing something that you're passionate about or something that makes you happy, and maybe consider now if it's feeding your family and stuff, go out, have at it.
Per normal, we're not talking about the extremes.
We're talking about the bell curve.
We're in the middle 80% of the bell curve.
Yeah.
It's covering the 80%.
But it is something to look at. And if you need to look at it longer than really pretty briefly, also something to consider. This is a really easy thing to look inward real quick and say,
And it's also okay. There are so many people who are cut out for the 9 to 5. That is okay. The security, the safety, the guarantee, that's fine. It is okay. It's not, you didn't fail. You didn't you're just you know what, this isn't really my thing. I want to get up and know where I'm going, know what I'm doing, get off, come home, get up, know where I'm going. No, that's not entrepreneurship. That's not owning your own business. It's just not the roller coaster ride that we're on. Yeah. It's totally fine. So.
Yeah.
All right. Please let me
just do it.
Yeah. I want to say comment. If you have questions about what I just said, our next podcast, we're going to kind of dive into some of the first year, someone asked us to reflect on some of the mistakes that we would avoid in the first year. And we've done that throughout, but I think a true reflection on the mistakes or the things that we wouldn't do or the things that we changed.
Say hello to the people. Say hello, people.
No.
Okay.
So we'll get into that.
Yes.
We also have continuing our series with Dr. Amy Neff on Botox and
for mental health and depression specifically.
Yep. And
we go to AMSPA next. We do go to AMSPA next week, which we do plan on still having an episode come out.
And then we'll reflect on AMSPA.
But
because I think a lot of people
definitely
ask about conferences and their value, and I think we will definitely come back from that and
tell you all about
really reflect on it, not as a knock on anything or a positive on anything. Just this was our experience.
Yeah.
We have a very busy schedule. We're on speaking.
Yeah, we're on faculty and
dinners
stuff.
and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to
go through what was the night events like? What was the blah blah blah?
Yeah.
We'll get into the dirty details of that. You can have that. Okay, so per usual, like and subscribe. Please share on if you listen to this. That that would be awesome. Like I said, you can find a lot of more deep depth in what we talk about here, plus what stuff we don't talk about on our Patreon. And then our Instagrams also, I do a lot of value posts on there. Mine's more clinical and injecting. Carla does some business stuff on hers. Mine's at Injector Smiley and hers is at C Smiley Injector. So we try to put a lot out there to help and just kind of support our mission. Yeah, and give as much away as we can to help other people be successful. So yeah, we will see you next week, I guess.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah.